So the president kickstart on Monday by writing one of those presidential letters on his account, and then all of a sudden was a flood and flood and flood of replies to what the president had said. Basically, there's a part where the president spoke about how we don't want any individual to, just paraphrasing, to subvert the constitution that we have worked hard for, right? But the big take was a reply on a Twitter by Naledi Chirwa, a member of the Economic Freedom Fighters, right? Where she basically criticized the whole speech, and then everybody started criticizing her. Obviously, again, the issues are not being tackled, okay? Of as to why she's criticizing the president. It was just, okay, there's where she said that the president is a small boy, okay? And then boom, it just then became an event where her nationality as a South African has been questioned now. Where else with the president also, you just don't know what on earth he was talking about. It's a repetition of what he said when he was speaking in parliament, right in front of the steps of the parliament, after there was fire at the parliament, right? He initially didn't concentrate speaking on fire. He started speaking about Desmond, the burial of the late Archbishop Desmond Tutu, and how we were solemnly giving a befitting farewell to him. And this is a sad day for democracy in our country. And then he started talking about the fire. So the article starts the same thing, right? He says, we had fires at the parliament, right? And again, this just happened a day or two after the revered, admired late Archbishop Desmond Tutu had been sent a farewell, and then it started linking Desmond Tutu as the spiritual father of our democracy. And he also, not in many ways, on this article that he penned, said that, hey, you know what? Our parliament was on fire, and this had showed how strongly the people of South Africa feel about our democracy. In other words, the fire had happened. It's not as much as it's a bad thing, but it just shows how strongly we feel and how we love our democracy, given how people are irate about the fire that had occurred in the parliament. And also, he also said, hey, listen, man, the institution, the parliament which had been burned down, you know what? The work is going to continue, and it shows that as much as we're going to congregate somewhere else or reconvene somewhere else, it just shows you that our democracy is moving. Okay? And he talks about how the whole nation looked in horror as the parliament was in fire. Okay? No questions about as to how come did the parliamentary staff were stopped from working over the weekend and overtime because the government said that there's no money. All right? So now, if you do your calculation as to how much those folks were being paid and as to how much money is going to cost the taxpayers as usual, which is not a biggie because parliament or the cabinet or these folks in government really doesn't matter. It's the money of you and myself that pays for this, the billions that we're going to be paying. No talk of how the parliament got bent down. No talk of, basically the implementation. Remember that the parliament was on fire. last year around March. Um, and then there was so-called report that would come out. They said initially they said it points to an electrical fault, right? And they spoke of how they're going to take measures in order to make sure that the parliament's not going to be on fire. We all know that they said the sprinklers weren't working. We all know that they had a fire drill, and as a result, there were other stuff or systems which weren't turned on in order to alert if there's fire. We all know that employees were told not to work over the weekend, and also no longer given money for overtime, as I've stated before. And no solutions, no way forward, just generalization. And then he went ahead, the president, and started speaking about the Zondo report, saying that there's just basically generalizing of how this is going to strengthen democracy, and there's going to be a resolve of how the government will now clean out corruption and so forth. No talk of maybe if there are going to be prosecutions. No talk of, because he speaks about the destruction of the South African Airways, of which now they're speaking of having another Airways after this one just goes down. It's sort of like written by someone who is maybe a professor, bemoaning about what's happening in the Republic. If you didn't know, you wouldn't think that this is the president of the land. So this is the same pattern of Minister Lindiwe Sisulu, or talking about the power that be, which are really preventing things to happen in our country in terms of good conditions for job creation, the economy, the so-called social justice, and so forth. It's an array of ANC elite at the top who has an opportunity to be able to effect changes, but talk as if it's just you and me, who doesn't have an opportunity to be able to put down legislations that would make the country work in terms of dealing with poverty, the usual, unemployment, and so forth. Okay, so now essentially it spills out to Naledi Chirwa's nationalities, people saying that, hey, this peasant must go back to Malawi. Oh, this peasant, and her video surfaced of her being on at the church of Bushiri, being pushed, falling down, and calling Bushiri Papa. And now people are saying, how could you call Bushiri Papa and call President Cyril Ramaphosa Mfana and boy and so forth? So it's not even about the merit of the issue. So if it's an issue of, let's say for instance, dealing with nationalities, okay, then let the Home Affairs deal with it. The rotated Minister of Home Affairs is eager now about all these law enforcement issues, and he's talking a big game. Let them deal with it. And if there's an individual who feels that they should go ahead and deal with this issue of someone not being South African national, and then they should go ahead and work through all the process and deal with that individual, because we don't want to be distracted from the issue as to what the president is on about. Because I can tell you right now, it's sort of like a romantic novel. It's like that bullet train that is to be built, or 1 million houses that are to be built in Alexandra, of which when a minister, Mr. Fixit, was asked as to whether the president said that 1 million houses are to be built in Alex, and he said, no, it's a figment of someone's imagination. So that's just about it. My name is Mamuji, and thanks for watching the Mamuji Show, and I'm out.